Dart skill presents triangles. A triangle is a closed shape with three straight sides. The sides are also called the edges, so this is one side or an edge. And the point of intersections of the sides are called the vertices. Each one is a vertex. So this is a vertex on the triangle. This is another vertex and this is another vertex. The triangle has got three angles at each one of its vertices. Here's an angle, here's another angle, and here's another one. In any triangle, the three angles always add up to 180 degrees. And that's something that you're going to need over and over again while solving problems related to triangles. Let me just write that down. It's something very important you don't want to forget. Sum of the three angles in any triangle is 180 degrees. Triangles can be classified based on the relationships between their sides and angles, and also based on the measure of their angles. Let's look at them. An equilateral triangle is one in which all three sides are the same length. This, and this all have the same length. So if you know one of them, you pretty much know all sides on the triangle. And the three angles also have the same measure. Given that the sum is equal to 180 degrees, each angle is 60 degrees in measure. "60 times 3 is equal to 180. And this is what we call an equilateral triangle. An isosceles triangle is one in which two sides are the same length and the third one is a different length. So this is an isosceles triangle where the length of this side is the same as the length of this side. And the angles opposite the equal sides are also the same measure. So this angle out here is the same measure as this angle. So if you know any one of them, you can find the remaining angles because the other one has to be exactly the same measure, and then given that the sum is always equal to 180 degrees, you can always find the non-equal angle. A scalene triangle is one in which all three sides are different length. So this is different from this as well as this, and all three angles also have different measures. That's what a scalene triangle is. A triangle is said to be an acute triangle when all three angles are less than 90 degrees in their measure. They don't have to be equal or something like an equilateral triangle or even an isosceles triangle, but each one of them has to be less than 90 degrees. For example, if this one is 75 degrees and this one is, let's say, 55 degrees, keep in mind that the three angles have to add up to 180 degrees. 75 plus 55 is 130 degrees. Therefore, this one is a 50 degrees. And because all three of them are less than 90 degrees, we could say this triangle is an acute triangle. A right triangle or a right angled triangle is one that has got a right angle or a 90 degrees in it. Obviously, this angle is meant to be a 90 degrees. So we would say this is a right triangle or a right angle triangle. On a right triangle, the two other angles have to add up to 90 degrees because the sum of the three angles is equal to 180 degrees. And then we have something called an obtuse triangle, in which one angle is more than 90 degrees. Obviously, in this triangle, this is the one that's more than 90 degrees, or it's an obtuse angle. And because the three angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees, if one of them is more than 90 degrees, the sum of the other two has to be less than 90 degrees to keep the sum of all three fixed at 180. Therefore, the other two angles have to be less than 90 or acute angles.